gonna make one of these videos. I'm not sure I'm qualified because I enunciate my words well, and I'm not homosexual like some of those people could be on these YouTube videos. But today we're doing corn. Now to husk corn, I always like to get it nice and flat on the bottom to cut it off the cob. If it's on an angle, you're able to slip when you cut it off. I'll show you that in a little bit. So I get it nice and flat, cut it all off nicely. Now the recipe says to wash it thoroughly, which I'm gonna do in this case because you cold pack this. You actually cut it off the cob raw, and you want all the silk off it and everything. Because usually when you freeze it, which I've done a lot of, you actually take and cook it first. But this is gonna be cold packed, so it's not gonna get cooked at all. Now we grew this corn. We have about 100 feet rows, and we got about 8 of them that we do. We stagger the patches about every 2 weeks. We grow. This is our second patch. We got one more to go. So now, once I get it off the cob, I'm going to take it over to the hose and wash it. Now, it happens to be a really nice day in early September here in Michigan, and we have had corn for a while. We had another patch, like I say. So it's later in the season, mid-season, however you want to say it. So it's nice to do this stuff outside, as we can sit outside on the deck and do it. So, all right. Now the recipe calls for you to wash it. Now ultimately corn's not going to be dirty because it's wrapped tight in the husk. So by washing it, I think what they mean is to basically get the silk off of it, because who really wants to eat corn silk? So I figured taking a garden hose out here with a little bit extra pressure, kind of run up and down there, get that silk kind of blowing off there a little bit, best you can. Was my idea of washing. When you're done, kind of drain it out, keep it clean. And we are ready to cut it off the cob. Okay, we've gotten to the point where we got the corn all washed, got it all husked, all picked, not necessarily in that order. Now it's time to cut it off the cob. Now I've frozen corn quite a few times, and it's quite a lot different cutting it off the cob. I just experimented with a few ears here, and it's a little different. When I do it on the frozen corn after it's been blanched for 3 or 4 minutes, I like to use my filleting knife. It seems to work a little bit better. I just tried that a minute ago, and what it seemed to kind of want to do is cut into the cob a little bit. So you're basically cutting raw corn off the cob here. So it's a little bit different than what you're used to. Now I like the serrated edge knife for that. It seems to work a little better. I have used it in both places, even after it's been blanched a few times. But yeah, so you just basically cut it off the cob. Now there's a couple little different things you can use. I've seen these little round things that go around there. In my opinion, I think they'd waste too much corn. Okay, see how that slipped like that? That's what I was saying earlier. Why to keep it flat on the bottom, because what it wants to do, if you don't have that nice and flat on the bottom, it'll be on an angle and it'll slip on you when you start pushing down on it like this. And then you got a whole lot of slipperiness and a whole lot of knives and stuff, and it could end badly. But yeah, you basically just want to cut it off the cob. And with this canning method, that's just a pure cold pack method, and you just primarily just cut it off the cob however you can do it. I've seen a lot of different ways. This seems to work the best for me. And then we always just pour it into a little bowl and then cold pack it into the jars at another point, and we'll show you that in a few minutes. All right, now the next step after we got some corn cut up is to pack it into the jars, which we've done a couple. I kind of do it. Some people seem to want to do it all at the same time. They'll put, bushels of corn, get it all together, but I kind of like to see where I'm at because I don't want to do too much. I got enough room in my canner for 17 pints. So I did beans last night, so that's how I know that so well. But what I do is I take and just basically fill the thing up. The recipe says that you don't want to pack them in there. Now with beans, I'll take and I'll just kind of tap it down in there, but with corn they say not to do that. So we got it figured out. There's usually 4 of us eating, depending upon the night, but usually there's 4 of us eating, and I can get about 4 ears of corn in there. So I'm going to leave about an inch of headspace in there, and then we're going to fill them with water a little later. We'll show you that process. You want to fill them right up about an inch from the top, and then it calls for a half a teaspoon per pint. 1 teaspoon per quart. I got a 1/4 teaspoon dipper here, so I do 2. I got the canning and pickling salt. I did pickles earlier in the season, so I bought a box of this. And like all salts, I'm sure it'll last a long time. So simply put a 1/2 teaspoon in each one. Now some people will say, you know, well, I don't like salt, and I agree with you. I don't really like salt in my canning. I usually like to put it on when I do it myself, and some people in the family don't like salt in their stuff. But they say it's for the preservation of it itself, because I didn't do it one year with beans, and they got a little brown on the ends, and I'm thinking that's the reason. So use the salt like it says to use the salt, even if if you're on a low sodium diet. I don't know what to do, but yeah, I generally follow the instructions with that. So yeah, 1/2 teaspoon per pint, 1 teaspoon per quart, and we're doing pints today. So that's how you fill them, and fill them with salt. We'll show you the canning process shortly. Okay, I have gotten a lot of things from other YouTube videos, and this is one thing I can't stress enough. I've never heard this, is to cut it flat, like I said earlier. Cut it flat so you can, it's so much easier to cut it off the cob, even if you got one of those little round cutters that go over top and cuts it all completely. Because, man, I've had more struggles if I just come out of the field with it and it's all in a wad or whatever. If it's cut flat and it can stay flat on that plate, you can push down as hard as you can. I've gotten all this stuff off some YouTube or some recipe book or something, but if you don't get anything out of this video but that, cut them babies flat, so when you cut down on them, you can put a lot of pressure on them without them slipping out from underneath you, because that can get tough on you. So, all right, just thought I'd add that. No. All right, here's a little tidbit for you. Like I said earlier, I picked my own corn out of our field. I always kind of pick it, I picked a crate full, but I counted them. I was like 62 ears, which is a bushel. If anybody knows what a real bushel of corn is, a bushel of sweet corn, it's 5 dozen ears of corn, so that's 62. So, or 60. So I threw a couple extra because some of them would be small. And they're average size, they're nothing, it seems how I grow it. I got to take what I get, if they're big, they're little. Doesn't matter, so I got to take them. I filled up 17 pints with that 62 ears of corn, plus I had this much left over. So it gives you a little information of how much corn you can get out of how many ears of corn. So 17 pints loose like that, plus probably this would make another one. So 18 pints be 9 quarts. So that's a little information that I didn't know starting this, so maybe it'll help you. All right. Okay, next step, got all 17 husked and cut off the cob. It's all still raw at this point. I'm gonna put enough water in there, pretty much just to get it right back about where we were, so we still got an inch of headspace. Now this is the first time I've ever done corn, and it's a little different than beans because it's not as coarse. So you dump the water in, it'll fill right up, and then it settles down. So it's a little bit more like, it's almost waterproof for a minute. So you don't quite know where you are with the water, so that's a little different. So yeah, you don't want it too full. You want to leave enough room to be able to breathe, to be able to, to heat up and expand. And then after that, we'll put the lids on. And oh, one thing too, when you do get the water in there, just like beans or anything else you can, you want to take a knife or something, ideally something plastic would be nice, but you want to press against all the sides and stir it up, poke it down in there a little bit so that it gets all the air bubbles out. So if you, I don't know, I've never had the air bubbles have an issue, but they say it can like break the jar or something like that. But yeah, kind of press against there, do all 17 of them that way, just kind of stir it up a little bit, pop it down there a little bit, and get all the air bubbles. You can kind of see how it's worked out a little bit. You do got a lot of small air bubbles there, so it is doing something. I'm sure it's doing something with corn because this stuff is very, very non-coarse. You go to dump water in there, you'll find that out. So definitely a different experience. So anyway, I'll show you when we put them in the canner. Okay. One thing I didn't tell you is when you get going, you want to take all your lids, put them in a boiling pot of water. So all the lids you're going to need. Now this is a handy dandy little magnetic stick here made just for this to grab these lids out just like this. Now in the process, seeing how this is corn and it's really sticky, you do it with anything, and I do it with, I've done it with everything I've ever canned, which, believe it or not, it's been quite a lot of stuff at this point. You want to wipe it off. Now this time I dampen the cloth because this stuff is so sticky that you gotta, you know, kind of get it clean because it's kind of a mess. So I take my covers, take the hot lid, put it on there, screw it down. Some say don't put it too tight. I like it a little tighter than most. Never had no problem. And put it on in a canner. Now, if you ever wondered, I didn't find a lot of stuff on YouTube about this. How to stack pints, because how do you do pints in a pressure cooker? You got to pressure cook corn. You got to pressure cook beans. There's something about the acid in beans and corn, for whatever reason, you need to pressure cook it. So this little handy thing is to put in between your layers. So I'm going to put like 8 on the bottom, put this on the top, put 9 on top of that, or something like that. 7 and 8, 7 and 8. Something like that. Anyway, how many you can get in there is the main thing. So you can do it. I didn't know. I looked on YouTube for this reason, is to try to find out how to pressure cook pints instead of quarts and how to stack them, and if it's possible to stack them. And I'll show you in a minute that it's possible to stack them. And that we had good success with it yesterday with green beans. So I'm sure it'll work with corn. So all right, that's it for now. Okay, we placed the pint jars into the canner here. I was able to get 9 on the bottom and then 9 on the top. What I did yesterday is I had some wide mouth. These are regular mouth, they call them skinny mouth, whatever, small mouth. I had some wide mouth pints yesterday, which would have took a lid like that. So for whatever reason, they were a little wider, and I couldn't fit as many. I could only fit like 8, but I had a couple of these. So when I got down to the top here, I had enough room for 1, so I went out and picked 2 more ears of corn and filled up another jar. So now what I got is 18 of them in there. So at this point, I'm going to put the lid on. Now everybody will say to leave it vent for a certain amount of time. So what you want to do is you want to see a pretty good stream of steam coming out of there. Now to put the lid on, all these canners are different. I've never seen one like this. I mean, all the YouTube videos I've been watching, never seen one like this. So I say make sure the ring is good. If you use it every year, I think the ring is going to be good. If you grab your grandma's that's 10 years, 30 years from being used, you're probably going to have to buy another ring, gasket or whatever you want to call that. But basically what this one does is just kind of set it down like that and then line the handles up. So we're going to want to make sure we get a good stream coming out of here. And then with corn, this is the longest I've ever heard of anything cooking. You got to cook this for 55 minutes with 10 pounds of pressure. Now what these are is their weights. What this one has is this is an extra 5-pounder, and then this one's a 5-pounder. So you put this one on this one and this one here. Now when I was a kid, my mom had one that had like 3 different settings. Now in this elevation, we're at about 700 feet above sea level, 550 to 700, depending upon where you're at here in our state, Michigan. But so you need 5 pounds. Now if you're over 1,000 feet, they keep saying you need 15 pounds. I never really give that much thought because not many places around here you can be over 1,000. So definitely not here where I can. So we're gonna let this steam out, and it'll happen here pretty quick because it's already pretty hot. So I'm gonna let it steam out, and as soon as it does, for 10 minutes steaming out, I'll be right back with you and then put this on. So, okay, we got the jars in, we put the lid on, we got steam coming out of here for a good 10 minutes. You can see it just blowing out of there. So I'm gonna take and put this on there. Now we gotta process these for 55 minutes, but we're still not counting yet. Now we got this closed, so now we just started building pressure. Still not building pressure. I'll tell you when we are, we'll come back. This thing will actually pick up and start wobbling a little bit, and that's when we start our 55 minutes. Okay, until then. All right, finally started after about 20 minutes after I put the top on. We have it starting to blow a little steam off. So I've never noticed that this one doesn't rock. You know, some of them will really get crazy, but this one just kind of blows a little steam off. You know it's at that point because you got the 10 pounds of pressure on there. So it's at that point. So now, like I said earlier, 55 minutes. Corn is 55 minutes. I'm going to set the timer for 55 minutes. Then set it, and 55 minutes later, I'm going to shut the heat off and then we wait some more. So if you haven't figured out by now, this canning process is a long deal. So it's not a quick and minute type thing, but anyway, it's worth it, I guess. So all right. Okay, now this step is very simple. We went 55 minutes for this thing, pissing and blowing out steam. It's been at its 10 pounds of pressure for 55 minutes. Got the heat pretty much where it was. A lot of people recommend you turn it down, but without a pressure gauge on this, it's hard to know exactly where you're at. So I know if it's spitting out steam, it's at least 10. So basically this step, all you do is shut it off. Now, I'm very impatient. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll try to blow off the steam by hand, you know, pick that little thing up and try to get something underneath there. Get the steam blown off so I can take the lid off. But what I've found is that's not the best way to do it, because the jars are still boiling and everything is hot, and it just needs this cool down time. So I generally wait about an hour to an hour and a half before this thing is completely freed of steam, completely freed of pressure, and then you can check this, make sure it's freed of steam for sure, and then open it up and then take the jars out. And they're still hot for a long time. But now we just basically wait a little longer. We've actually waited a day almost, you know, we went to bed at this point and not even done anything until we woke up with beans or something like that, and woke up and took them out of the canner then. And most of the time they're sealed, so you probably could even do that. But generally what I've been doing lately is wait about an hour and a half and take them out. So we'll do that. I'll see you in an hour and a half. Okay, we let it cool down for almost 2 hours now. So when I lift this, there's no steam coming out. So I usually take this off just to make sure that it is steamed out. And then you open it the same way you closed it, face back. And there you are. Got the jars. Now you take them out, you take one of these little jar picker-uppers, and you pick them up. And you want to set them down on a towel, generally. Let them slide around. And usually by this time they're starting to cool down already. And like with beans, I know I just start hearing pop and pop and pop and pop. So it won't be long, you'll hear some pops. Take them all out. Let them cool down. Hopefully they'll all be sealed by the time, by tomorrow morning. Sure. Shouldn't take that long though. Should. Don't know with corn, but I know like with beans, within a half an hour you're done. Okay, come here to show the canner. Now I got the 9 out of the top. There's one popped already. Now I've got this lid. Okay. Just about burned my wife there, so don't do that. That's not recommended.
Okay.
Okay, take that top thing off. Look down in there. See the other 9 jars there. Water is still very hot even after 2 hours. Are you okay? And you basically take them all out. Let them set. Remove the lids, wash the jars. And they say it lasts a year and a half. And that's what the jar manufacturers say. But I know you can go a lot longer than that. One just sealed inside there. So you got a year and a half to get them made. I hope this helped. There's a lot of things I've learned just doing this. Like I say, you stack pints, not really a big deal. Nothing on YouTube really showed me how to stack pints. I kind of trial and errored that. Keep the cob flat on the bottom. I'm freezing some too, but yeah, keep it nice and flat. That's really makes cutting it off the cob a lot easier. And I hope that helped somebody. I know it would have helped me at a certain point. So thanks for watching. And I try to keep them short because I hate watching a long one. So like and share. All right, have a good night.
Subscribe.